Today on the channel, back again with the latest and greatest from the Mattel reveals for September 27th, 2023.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another WWE Mattel reveals video. And today is September 27th, 2023, for those that are keeping track at home. And Mattel did release some new glamour shots, some pretty pictures of stuff that we knew was coming. We just hadn't seen it in the package yet. And we know what happens once we see them in the package. That means we're right around the corner. In the next couple of weeks, all this stuff should be shipping from, of course, Ringside Collectibles. And as we know, Ringside Collectibles, use discount code Kyle, save yourself 10%, and we should be able to get these there fairly soon, and of course, up for pre-order right now. And that's where I'm also going to Ringside Collectibles, and I'm going to their Instagram page, checking out all these pretty image reveals. I do fully expect, as I'm filming this, it hasn't went up yet, but I would imagine WWE.com will have a Mattel September gallery up there. They usually have that a little bit later on, but I would expect that will be up soon, so check WWE.com maybe a little bit later for some more images, things like that, maybe even a nice slick video. We'll see what happens. But of course, with these reveal videos, we're going to do it like we always do. We got my handy dandy iPad right here. We're going to go by picture and talk about it a little bit. We're just going to go in order of Ringside, how they post them. We're going to start off with the Basic Series 142. Honky Tonk Man, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Now, I'm a big Gunter guy. I'm a big Walter guy from before. But the Honky Tonk Man, he stole my heart and never let go as a little kid. I gotta say, though, you guys know me being a little Warrior. When Warrior took the Intercontinental title, I didn't lose any sleep over that, of course. But I always enjoyed the Honky Tonk Man's work, and very happy to get some new Honky Tonk Man figures here, even if it is in the basic line. Now, this is Basic 142, and the blue version, it is the Chase version of the Honky Tonk Man. So we're here for a little Chase action. Honky Tonk Man's had many figures in the past. We've even had some basics in the past, but we are getting the updated articulation now. Remember, in the basics, these aren't your daddy's basics. These are basics on steroids, basically. So you got a little bit more articulation, especially in the legs, and that was one of the things that held the basics back the most. Well, we get that articulation now. I truly believe you can mix a lot of these with your elites, of course, and you can do head swaps, all that kind of stuff if you need to as well. But the blue Honky Tonk Man will be the Chase in 142. That's going to be a must-have for me. I'm a Legends guy. 142 is also going to have Honky in his red tights. So a little 2-for-1 Honky Tonk Man going on here, but definitely looking good. But the one I'm excited about, the one they debuted at San Diego Comic-Con, very excited to get this one. This could be possibly the best Hulk Hogan figure we got this year. Yes, you heard it right. We'll see what happens when I get it here. Last year, I think we did a top 5 or a top 10 Hulk Hogan figures of 2022. We might be able to do that again this year in 2023. Maybe we will. But I really like this kind of workout gear Hulk Hogan. Just an all-time look that you never thought about getting in action figure form, at least for the most part. Unless you're a die-hard Hulkamaniac out there wanting every single thing. There's a lot of looks from the Hulkster, as we know. But this one just feels a little extra special for some reason. It is a perfect basic, and I guess I wouldn't turn down an Elite or Ultimate of this look either. Something about the Hulkster in that blue and white with the headband in white. Just definitely an iconic look without being iconic, if that even makes sense. But a very, very cool figure here in the basics line. A guaranteed must-have for a lot of people, myself included. Could be the sleeper basic figure of the year. We'll see what happens with that one. Then we do get The Undertaker once again. The Undertaker rides on forever. There is no last ride with The Undertaker. We'll get Undertaker figures till the end of time. And this one, I do believe, is that the head sculpt we first saw in Mattel Basic Series 100. I believe that is the case here for 142. But it is The Undertaker. I don't think I need this one in my collection. But Undertaker, we know how he goes. You got to have him out there on a regular basis. Now we turn our attention to one of those first time in the lines. last time in the lines with Top Dollar. Of course, Top Dollar unfortunately just released about a week ago from the WWE. I'm still excited to get Hit Row. I like factions. I'll take it in my collection. You get them in there. It's like the three-man band back in the day. It's good to get some of these figures. At least we got something out of it. And I know, I get it. Not everybody likes the Top Dollar out there. I'm not a huge fan either, but I'm a huge fan of action figures. I want representation of everybody somewhere along the way, and that's what we got right here with old Top Dollar. And it looks all right for what it is. Of course, 142, all the new articulation, things like that we've been talking about. So we'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take it. There you go. But then we turn our attention to one, and I think the Queen is going to rise again. We're going to see a few more of her this very video. But it seems like we've been a little dormant on Charlotte Flair figures for the most part. I think her last figure was a Showdown pack with Alexa Bliss. But now we're getting back in the groove with Charlotte Flair, and I fully expect some more figures to be announced in the future. But she is going to be the female representative in 142 here in all of her black gear. It's just kind of is Charlotte Flair. It's very similar to the basics we've had in the past, but I imagine we'll have the updated articulation with this one. So if you're there for that, there you go. But definitely Charlotte Flair. Now we turn our attention to the Ultimates. So we go from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other end. We go to the Ultimate line. As we know, the Ultimates, with this series here, we're going to start being, and this is, I should say, Series 19, we're starting with 3 Ultimates per set. And a lot of people, not a big fan of that, myself included. The Ultimates, when they started off, they really felt like they were going to be, okay, they're the Ultimate editions of these figures. You know, a guy like Warrior, Hogan, Macho, some of the heavy hitters, some of the all-time Hall of Famers, yeah, maybe we'll get 2 or 3 looks. But for the rest, it's going to be one and done for the most part. And it's only going to be a few figures a year. 6, 8 figures a year at that. Now we're getting a heck of a lot with all the retailer exclusives. And then 3 going to the main line starting with 19. It's almost like, I don't want to say running it into the ground or too much of a good thing. It's just feels different, doesn't feel as special as it once did, but we always talk about it. Mattel, NECA, whoever it is, whatever company it is, they want all your money. They want every dollar you have, and that's what they're doing with these Ultimates. Okay, they see the selling, they're selling really well. Well, how do we make them sell better? We add another one. We have 3. Now we're going to get even more money in there, and it's one of those things, they keep doing that where eventually the consumer says, okay, no more, no mas. I don't want any more. And then they start turning, and then you start seeing the decline. So a dangerous, dangerous tipping point in a year, 2 years. What is time? We might be able to look back, say, hey, Ultimate Edition Series 19, that's where they jumped the shark like a young Fonz from Happy Days. They could say that. That could happen. So mark it down. But Series 19 is going to be an interesting one. And Series 19 starts off with Bobby Lashley. And I like Bobby Lashley. I love the Hurt Business. I like what he's doing with the Street Profits right now. I'm in for a Bobby Lashley, but is the general public in for this Bobby Lashley? I don't know. He's had a few different top picks. He's had some elites fairly recently. For the Ultimate Edition, it's got to be extra special. This just kind of feels like a next level elite, and I guess that's what Ultimates are at the end of the day. But I don't know if there's enough hardcore Bobby Lashley fans out there like there is the Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Ric Flair, John Cena, Roman Reigns. We could list days and days of people. I don't know if Bobby Lashley's got the fan base to jump to that next level on a permanent basis. Of course, the collectors, the people that are buying all these Ultimates and things, they're going to, of course, step up to that. But can the average Joe consumer, and make no bones about it, that's the one that drives the needle, is the bare bones everyday consumer that goes into that Target, goes into that Walmart, goes to Amazon, wherever. Are they going to take that next level and pick up this Bobby Lashley? Or they say, you know what, I'll save 10, 15 bucks, I'll get this elite or even a basic. So that's going to be an interesting one with this Bobby Lashley. But that being said, it is truly an Ultimate Bobby Lashley. You get the soft goods shirt with him. You get the title belt with the title side plates for Bobby Lashley. Extra hands, a couple of extra heads as well. I don't know. Is it enough? Is there enough meat on the bone here for a character like Bobby Lashley? Nothing against him. I just don't know if there's enough meat on the bone. We'll have to find out. But there he is in 19. And of course, Bianca Belair, another exciting one here in 19. We don't get a ton of females in the Ultimate line, so when we do, it feels a little bit special there. I do like the soft goods kind of furry jacket. Definitely they do a great job with her hair, with the kind of the whip hair. We always like that with our Bianca figures. Just a really good representation of Bianca, and it seems like it's been a little bit of time since we've had a figure of her. Of course, she'll have those extra hands. She'll have an extra head with this one. It pretty much is Bianca paint by numbers, but Bianca in the Ultimate Edition. I think the really true Ultimate thing here outside of articulation, which I think she's even had the Ultimate articulation in the Elite line in the past, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be that kind of fuzzy fur coat. That's going to be the big one there. It'll be interesting, once again, kind of like Bobby Lashley. I do feel she is more popular than Bobby Lashley, but I'm not sure the popularity does buys for her. Is that going to translate over into action figure buys? Because as we've seen, nothing against the female figures, they do tend to peg warm, as we do know. So it'll be interesting to see Bianca following her path to the store shelves. And then we're capping it off with the legend, the return to the Mattel line of Kurt Angle, an all-timer here. One a lot of people are going to want. One I think will do the best of the three here. There's no doubt about it. He is a legend after all. When you get the world title belt, you get all the extra hands, 3 heads for this one. You get the gold medals, and then of course you get the figure itself with a soft goods singlet. Not sure how I feel. The soft goods singlet in these pictures, it really reminds me back to some of the old Jakks days, like almost like the R3 days and things, where we got some of that soft goods that just didn't seem to fit right, and his singlet kind of feels like it honestly looks like to me, when you have a bounce, he kind of looks like he's in one of those. He just needs to be connected on, and he being a little jumper bouncer is kind of how it looks. So it looks a little baggy. I think I would have liked it more sculpted in, and we'll see. One of those things, once we get at the table, we'll understand if we like it better, least, who knows. But it is an interesting try here. I got to think we're going to have a lot more Kurt Angles. I'd have to imagine the next big announcement from Mattel will be a ton more Kurt Angles in the future. In the Elite line, the Basics line, you name it. But the Ultimate is where we're going to start. It definitely is an iconic moment for Kurt. We got good heads with him. But one thing that looks a little strange, and it's almost the Eddie Guerrero effect, is the body torso on this Kurt Angle. Very, very big up top, a little bit smaller down low. So a strange one. Obviously, that singlet's going to help hide some of that, just like the shirt helped hide some of Eddie Guerrero. But I think they just need to dial back that chest. I mean, I always talk about it in my videos, how I think an action figure should be the next level. So if you're a totally jacked dude, you should look like the Ultimate Warrior in action figure form. If you're Typhoon, maybe you shouldn't be as big, or maybe even bigger if you're Jakks. But it's got to be a larger than life. And it feels that way with this Kurt Angle, but it feels like they need to dial it back at least one. The size is just too big. Once again, much like that Eddie Guerrero figure there. I do like that crying head. I don't think I would use that crying head, but it is definitely something different. Mattel likes to give us some of those, like the hair flowing, some of those wild expressions, which aren't great for me on a day-to-day display level, but very cool for kind of just playing around, looking at it and stuff like that. But a really good one, just missing some milk cans or something, or milk bottle maybe, but they really did knock this one. And I always say these Ultimate Edition figures really should come with a title belt. Kurt, of course, does come with a title belt here, which we're here for. Bianca does not, which I think is a miss. Obviously, she's had the title belt many times, the women's title. She should have came with a women's title belt, I really truly feel. I'm sure it was cut for budgetary reasons. That's usually the way that ends up going. So there's the Ultimates, Series 19 of the Ultimates. Now we transition to some of the series here, the Build-A-Figure series, of course, in their standard Elite line. I believe they're not Ringside Collectible exclusives. Honestly, they could be. It seems like a lot of those pay-per-view series, you're really better off buying them at Ringside Collectibles because they show up. Like right now, my targets are just starting to get SummerSlam figures. And I felt like we had those almost a year ago. It's probably not been that long, but it's been a long, long time. So really, you want to pick these up at Ringside. That's what I'm going to do for sure. But we're looking here at Kevin Owens. Survivor Series packaging, looking cool. It looks like the standard packaging we're used to right now, at least. So we got Kevin Owens coming in there. Not too different from that Kevin Owens. Was that Series 101 Kevin Owens. He had an extra head with that one. Of course, more of the Austin theme, but it is the same body style. Looks to be that same Kevin Owens head on here. Makes a lot of sense. You got the briefcase with him as well. Of course, this is part of the Build-A-Figure for the British Bulldog. It's going to be the Build-A-Figure in this one, which is an interesting British Bulldog look. One that really does work as a Build-A-Figure. You don't want the when you close your eyes and think of the British Bulldog, it's not usually him in jeans. Maybe you are, maybe it is, but for me it is not. But that is a perfect Build-A-Figure idea for me. I'm here for that. But KO looks okay. And then we turn attention to Shawn Michaels. This is a Shawn Michaels I've really wanted. The old little Dutch boy Shawn Michaels, the return to glory, the return to form. And it was such a wild time because they really built up the drama of Shawn like, hey, he retired. He barely can ever walk again. And then all of a sudden he's coming back and you're like, what's going on, and him just taking just the most rudimentary moves. You're just like, oh my gosh, he's gonna be paralyzed after this one. They really built that up, and obviously he wasn't as bad as they made it sound to be. Obviously he's got some hurt, some pains, all that kind of stuff, but he wasn't a step away from paralyzation on a simple body slam, because his career did go on quite a lot longer, as we do know. But this one kind of is the one that returned to form in a lot of ways. Interesting gear choice. I like the brown. I don't know if it's 100% accurate. I know there was a lot of talk about that at San Diego Comic-Con and some of the other stuff, but I guess close enough. I don't know. It depends. I guess if you're a hardcore Shawn Michaels guy, you're like, man, that's not close enough. But it's close enough for me. I like what it represents, and I think there's a lot of Ruthless Aggression era figures that can really be representative from the Mattel days, and it's time to get some of those out, and we're looking at this Shawn Michaels right there at the top of that list. I'm here for it. And then we're turning our attention over to Charlotte Flair. We mentioned it a little bit earlier about Charlotte Flair, and here she is again in the Survivor Series line. She does get her title belt with this one. And then we get a brand new head sculpt for Charlotte Flair, and she was due for a new head sculpt, and I think this looks perfect. Of course, pinless joints, title belt, but really nailed her to a T in the face, at least for my representation. What I think of with Charlotte Flair, I think they did a fabulous job on this one. You can even do the patented Charlotte Flair pose. You can just imagine her doing this posing right here. But it looks really good. I like this Charlotte Flair. This could be the best Charlotte Flair figure so far. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. One I'm very excited about, one of my all-time favorites out there, is Jerry the King Lawler. Of course, his matches against Terry Funk, Andy Kaufman. Just his time in Memphis, of course, his time as a commentator, his time as wrestler in the WWF, WWE as well. And I think when a lot of people close their eyes and they think of Jerry the King Lawler, this might be what they think of. For me, I think of the Andy Kaufman, I think of the crown kind of goatee. This is an iconic Jerry Lawler to a whole generation, if not more than a generation. I think a lot of people will want this one, myself included, of course. And once again, he is part of that Build-A-Figure set. And I like kind of the side look on the crown, too, in the glamour shots here. Just gives a little of that Jerry the King Lawler personality. Of course, the iconic black singlet, got the red tights on, looking good. Looks like Jerry the King Lawler all day long. And then, of course, all these Survivor Series figures we talked about, they do work to complete. It's like, I feel like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or Voltron. They work to complete and make the British Bulldog. The British Bulldog in his finest blue jeans and black boots. We just recently got this a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. What is time in the Mattel Basics line with the Big Boss Man. A cool one there at the time. Now I guess that one can be retired. He can be a gentle face in the crowd, something like that, as we will have him in the Elite form as the Build-A-Figure. A lot of people probably want that if you're a British Bulldog fan. So there you go. Now we transition over to the Royal Rumble pay-per-view set. This is the first time we're seeing these in package. And these are also going to be in the brand new packaging for 2024. Still a mixed bag on that packaging. I'm still kind of on the fence. Do I like it? Do I love it? Do I hate it? I'm really towards the lower middle. I don't like the less bubble window. I understand what they're trying to do it. I understand the little readout, but I think of you guys and gals out there that love a good autograph. It's going to take away a little bit for that, but not really for me. But I just like a little bit more of the figure, a little less of the packaging. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I got to get it in hand. I got to kind of get used to it for a while. And a lot of times they switch the packaging designs on these Mattels. It takes 3 or 4 sets to kind of get in the groove on these. And I think that's how it's going to be with these as well. But you do got the Royal Rumble packaging. We got Brock Lesnar. Very similar. Was that like Elite 97, Elite 98? We had a Brock Lesnar very, very similar to this. So that's the hard part. Brock Lesnar, a tippy-top guy. You want to get out there regularly. But not a lot of differences in the look. So when he put the flannel and the cowboy hat on, that was something a heck of a lot different. We're kind of back to his normal stuff, but that's Brock. That's what he is. So it just kind of is what it is what I'll say. But it looks like we've got a little bit of a new head sculpt on this one, so there is some difference to it. And then we do get Batista, another all-timer. I'm kind of shocked we don't get more Batista figures, in all honesty. But one of his classic looks. And Batista, another guy, a little bit like Brock. You basically just, same figure all the time. We just change the tights. They can be black this time. They can be blue. They can be red. They can be yellow. You just work through the color palette. But that's kind of how it feels with Dave Batista. But maybe a different head down the line, something like that. But once again, feels very similar to like the Ruthless Aggression one we got just fairly recently, the Walmart exclusive. But still cool. I like getting the Batista figures out there. One I'm excited about for this one is the return to the line of Beth Phoenix, and a fairly recent one from Beth and Edge tag teaming, of course, at WrestleMania, or I should say Royal Rumble. Definitely looking cool here. I like the crazy poofed up hair she's got going on. Definitely a different look to Beth Phoenix than what we're accustomed to, and that's kind of what makes this one a little bit special. Just definitely a powerhouse of a figure is what we'll call this one. And then we get a first time in the line, once again, we do get Ridge Holland in the Royal Rumble appearance. A controversial guy is Ridge Holland. He gets a pretty bad rap out there on social media. Some may say it's deserved. I guess it depends where you do sit on that one, but it is a first time in the line. And we get a lot of accessories with this Ridge Holland. You get the cap, you get the extra hands. Of course, you get the big coat he's wearing there. You get his little weapon thing. I don't even know what you call that thing. A shillelagh? Is it a shillelagh? I think that's what it is. And you even get that mask he wore. And it's funny, we have Sheamus from that mask back in the day. You kind of put those guys together in their protector mask is what it could be. So, an interesting one. Ridge Holland, you list those four figures for that Royal Rumble set. You're just kind of like, which one doesn't feel like they belong? And that is Ridge. Nothing against the guy, but it's just definitely some hardcore stars in that set. And then Ridge is kind of a young up-and-comer, which I guess is trying to balance out the wave a little bit. And then the Build-A-Figure came out of left field when it was first announced, but it is really, really cool. And it's one of those figures, would it do very well in a Legends line? I don't know, maybe. I don't know. But they decided to go the Build-A-Figure route here with our main man, Virgil. And Virgil, of course, usually get the $1 million era. This is the time where Roddy Piper freed him. Roddy Piper freed him, I guess is what we'll say. You are a man. I remember that all stuff going on. We were all rooting on Virgil. Come on, Virgil, you can get with the program. And Virgil's probably like, I should have stayed with $1 million man. I had all the money I needed. I got stuff taken care of me. Yeah, I had to do some chores. I had to do some stuff, but now I'm getting beat up and getting my face broken by Sid. Just a tough time for old Virgil, as we know. But you got the candy stripe pants going on, like the barbershop pole pants almost. An iconic look for Virgil. There's two looks for Virgil that spring to mind right away for me. It's, of course, his time with the $1 Million Man in the suit with the no sleeves. And then this one, single years Virgil getting after it. An interesting one, but a really cool Build-A-Figure and really an out-of-left-field Build-A-Figure in a lot of ways. Now we turn our attention to the WrestleMania wave, and we get John Cena back in the line, and not a ton of meat on the bone with John Cena on this one, but of course, when you think of WrestleMania, he's one of the guys you do think of course, with the Ultimate Warrior, we think of him too, and a lot of other ones, The Undertaker, of course, Hulk Hogan, you know. But John Cena makes a lot of sense here, but not a lot of difference here, and I keep going back. I looked before. We have a John Cena very similar. Obviously, this will have the pinless joints. I think maybe these shorts are a hair color different, maybe. But not a lot of meat on the bone on this one. But John Cena, got to get his figures out all the time. We understand the game with that one. But it is John Cena. And then once again, we get The Rock. So we get The Rock with title belt, extra hands. Looking good. This is another interesting version of The Rock. He's got that goatee, which always looks so strange to me, especially in this day and age. But it is The Rock, and much like John Cena, you're going to get him out there on a regular basis. That's just the way it's going to be. We continue on with another one, a little bit of a head-scratcher. This almost feels like it should have been in the Greatest Hits line. It is Trish Stratus. Now, Trish Stratus, nothing against her. I actually would have preferred a modern-take Trish Stratus in this, but this is a throwback to the old, was it Hall of Champions? I think it was Hall of Champions, Trish Stratus, Target exclusive. So we get all the bells and whistles like we did with the Greatest Hits with the new pinless joints and all that fun stuff. So that's the big difference between this one and the one in the past. But basically, we can call this a Greatest Hits re-release on this Trish Stratus. And then after Trish comes the Build-A-Figure. Or no, before we get to the Build-A-Figure, we got probably going to be the most popular one in this set, and I could see a lot of crossover appeal. Pat McAfee, of course. I don't really follow Pat McAfee. I never even heard of the guy until he came into the WWE. That tells you how in tuned I am. But I could see some crossover appeal from his fans from ESPN, his radio show, podcast, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. There could be some crossover there. And of course, it makes sense as he was a part of WrestleMania. I'm sure he'll be a part of this year's WrestleMania as well, some kind of fashion. But we did get two basics of him, a regular and a chase beforehand. But I got to imagine people are going to be after this Pat McAfee. Like I said, the crossover appeal on this one. And then we closed out with the Build-A-Figure, and you knew they were going to get something out of that Dominic Mysterio Build-A-Figure. We get Nicholas, and it's an interesting one. I don't think Nicholas would ever have a chance of selling on his own, but it is pretty cool. You pair him up with Braun Strowman. He was the youngest tag team champion of all time. We'll never forget that moment. It was definitely an iconic moment from back in the day. I don't know. It's good. I'll take it. I'm here for it. It's something different, and I'd rather have something like this than, you know, another re-release of a Build-A-Figure or something like that. It feels new. It feels fresh. It feels different. There's no doubt about it. Now you can have Hornswoggle, El Torito, Nicholas, and, of course, the Dominic Build-A-Figure. You can have them all square off, and you get some customs out of these too. I'm sure if people got little kids, you can customize some little kids. And I'm sure people are going to have a lot of fun popping that Nicholas head off and putting a different head, a Rock head, or whoever, John Cena's head, on a little kid's body. I'm sure people will have some fun doing that. So an interesting WrestleMania set from the... Interesting WrestleMania set, of course, from Mattel. And that is really it. That is the ringside song and dance from their Instagram. That is the Mattel reveals for September. Not a lot of newness, not a lot of freshness. Basically, it was, here's stuff you've seen before with pretty glamour shots and in-package images. And like I said at the top, in-package images usually mean we're just a couple of weeks away from them hitting the stores, or I should say hitting Ringside Collectibles. You're probably still a couple months away from the stores. But definitely, if you order from Ringside, if you get your pre-order in now, using code Kyle to save 10%. You can be one of the first to grab these figures as they ship over the next month or so. So there it is, September reveals. What are your thoughts? What are you excited for? What are you down on? What are you happy for? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Of course, you made it this far. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bell, as we got videos every single day. And we got another YouTube channel now. We got 2 YouTube channels, so make sure you subscribe to both of them. There's content on both of them every single day. A little of this, a little of that. Definitely appreciate the support, though. So check out both YouTube channels and make sure you do subscribe to both of them. Don't forget, also, the Patreon for early access to the videos from both channels, bonus content, exclusive content, and your best way to support this very YouTube channel. You can also support channelprowrestlingtees.com, search Kyle Peterson, and don't forget social media, Sir Paul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, and on Instagram. So for Mattel reveals for September 27th, 2023, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.